If you've ever visited Mumbai, you might have seen hundreds of mafias lurking around. Being operative for decades, the mafias have been controlling Mumbai like they were the authorities. Since the day of independence, mafia dons have been household names in India, like Dawood Ibrahim, Chota Chetan, Kareem Lala, and many others. But what if we tell you that there are some mafia queens in Mumbai city who have controlled their area of influence in such a way that statues were made of them after their deaths? One such mafia queen of Mumbai was Gangubai. Join us today as we're going to reveal some secrets of the Queen of Mumbai, Gangubai. Early life. Ganga Harjivandas Kathiawari, also known as Gangubai, traveled to Mumbai from Kathiawar with her spouse. But after being sold in the red light area, she ended up as a victim of sex trafficking. She grew through the ranks to become a mafia queen while living in the red light district. Apart from the fact that she belonged to a well-educated family full of attorneys and educators, her family also had strong links to the royal family of Kathiawar, which was a matter of great respect for them. That means Gangubai wasn't an ordinary girl. Despite her father and brother's strictness, the family took an active interest in her education, which was uncommon in rural areas during the early 1940s. Nevertheless, as a young girl, she was more interested in movies and theater, and developed a strong attachment to the city of Mumbai, a hub for these activities. Marriage and shifting to Mumbai. Although she had heard stories about the glitz and glam of Mumbai, as well as the city's cutting-edge hotels, restaurants, cafes, and studios, she only fantasized about visiting the city. Her father appointed a 28-year-old accountant named Ramnik in his firm during those days. Ganga was already attracted by his looks and nature, but when he revealed to her that he had been living in Mumbai for many years, her interest doubled. It didn't take long for Ganga to fall for him, and they started dating each other secretly. Although she wanted to accompany him to Mumbai, Ganga knew that her father and brother would never approve of this marriage. So they both married each other a day before fleeing to Mumbai in a small temple in Kathiawar. Ganga took some money, a few clothes, and necessary items and left for Mumbai, dreaming about starting a new life in the big city with thousands of new opportunities and activities. Entry in Mumbai and deception by husband. Ganga was enthralled by the enormous railway station and the hustle and bustle of the city when their train arrived at Mumbai station. While staying at a Mumbai lodge, the husband and wife visited several sites in Mumbai. Ramnik informed her that they would be staying with his aunt. Ganga was first astonished because she had never heard of his aunt before. Nonetheless, she did not complain. After meeting his aunt named Sheila, Ganga knew there was something off about her. Sheila, who couldn't disguise her disdain due to inexplicable facial expressions on her face, led her to a spot where most of the ladies were half naked. Ganga still couldn't understand that she had been deceived. But after spending some time with Sheila, she realized that Ramnik had sold her for 500 rupees and had left Mumbai. New life in Kamanthapura. Ganga's fate was now in the hands of Sheila, who was running a brothel. In this situation, Ganga couldn't return to Kathiawar since she had tarnished her father's dignity. She knew her family would reject her, so the only option she had was to work with Sheila and do everything she was instructed. Ganga was abused and starved at first, but as she worked with Sheila, life became more available to her. She began working as a sex worker in Sheila's den and cooperated with her customers. As a result, Ganga received expensive presents on occasion and constant money from them. Her name, Ganga, was also transformed to Gangu. One day, a man who had heard about Gangu's popularity arrived at the brothel. He forcibly set aside Sheila and became nasty and violent in his dealings with Ganga. He also did not pay any money. A few days later, he returned and was even more brutal. Ganga was brought to the hospital because her body had been severely injured due to his erratic conduct. Sheila could not assist Ganga in this matter since she was aware that this man was a mobster and nothing could be done against him. Given the situation, Ganga began checking into this individual on her own and discovered that his name was Shaukat Khan, and he was a member of the notorious Karim Lala gang. Liaison with Karim Lala. Ganga decided to go to Kareem Lala on her own to complain about the event. Sheila and the others opposed her decision since it might lead to further problems for her and the brothel. But she stood resolute and went to Kareem Lala's house for justice. Kareem Lala was a criminal, but he was also a family guy who respected the visiting women. He was astonished to discover what had occurred to Ganga and refused to trust her narrative. He further claimed that no one named Shaukat Khan worked in his group. However, he dispatched a man to the brothel with Ganga to ensure that whenever Shaukat Khan returns, Karim Lala is promptly informed. Nothing happened for 3 weeks. Shaukat Khan, however, unexpectedly arrived at the brothel 3 weeks later. Ganga instantly told Karim Lala's guy about his arrival. When Shaukat came out from the brothel following his abusive conduct, he discovered Karim Lala standing with 2 of his men in front of him. Kareem Lala thrashed him with hockey clubs, breaking multiple bones. When he questioned Kareem Lala why he was doing all of this to one of his own gang members over a prostitute, Kareem Lala said he would defend her. Gangu's rise to power. This tragedy, in which Kareem Lala ruthlessly beat his own man Shaukat Khan for the sake of Gangu, left a lasting impression on the residents of Kamanthipura. Gangu went from being a typical sex worker to an influential figure after Kareem Lala promised to kill anybody who tried to harm her in any manner. Everyone in the brothel, even Sheila, was terrified of her. The inhabitants of Kamanthipura began to revere her and seek her assistance. Sheila died unexpectedly one day, and Gangu decided to participate in the local Garhwali elections. She won these elections, and as a result, she was designated as a Red Area Madam. In most sections of Kamanthipura, brothel keepers are chosen through Garhwali elections. She began to prioritize the well-being of sex workers over her own area. In this regard, a situation was brought to her attention. Madhu, from the hamlet Ratnagiri, refused to work in a brothel after fleeing with her lover and being rude to her parents. Gangubai inquired what she would do if she were released from the brothel. Madhu said she would seek her family for forgiveness. Otherwise, she would undertake a small job in her hometown. Gangubai defied convention by releasing her and letting her leave. Gangubai's decision spread like wildfire, inspiring many sex workers to exit the industry. She ensured that no one was coerced into this career against their choice. She made sure that all the brothel girls were treated with dignity. Anyone abusing sex workers in her region was harshly punished due to her contacts with the underworld, mafias, and police. Her popularity grew as a consequence of her good attitude in Kamanthipura, and she soon won more Garhwali elections, as a result of which she began governing so many brothels in South Mumbai with an iron grip. She held this position unchallenged for 16 years. Meeting with the Prime Minister. Early in 1960, St. Anthony School, located near Kamanthipura, requested that the red light area should be removed, as sex workers residing within 150 yards of the school affect children who come to school. This demand grew swiftly and became well known. On the other hand, the brothel authorities fought this initiative and refused to vacate the area. However, as school officials applied pressure, many employees contacted Gangubai. She had important contacts among high-ranking officials and politicians. As a result, she arranged an audience with Jawaharlal Nehru, India's then Prime Minister. This way, Gangubai became the first sex worker to meet with the Prime Minister at his home. Gangubai remains dedicated to her, and recently, a movie has been made on her life narrative, directed by Sanjay Leela Bansali. Jawaharlal Nehru is believed to have been impressed with Gangubai's humor and intellect. He questioned her why she chose this career, although she could easily find an excellent job or a husband. Gangubai then offered marriage to him. The Prime Minister was irritated by this proposition and yelled furiously at her, asking how she could talk to him in such a way, as he's a Prime Minister. At this time, Gangubai calmly explained that she only intended to demonstrate that it is easier to preach than practice. The idea was rejected by the Prime Minister, but her second proposal was approved. He pledged to look into the subject of brothel relocation. As a result, the school movement perished, giving Gangubai a decisive triumph. Her last days. Gangubai never remarried and had no children of her own. She did, however, adopt numerous children from Kamanthipura streets, who were either homeless or orphaned. She was very concerned about the upbringing of these children and made sure that they had a good education. Gangubai too had a dark side. She enjoyed playing cards and was a compulsive gambler. In addition, she was a chain smoker. However, her sculptures and framed photographs are displayed in many Kamanthipura homes. Even though they don't know Gangubai, many people in Kamanthipura are dedicated to her. In other words, Gangubai truly deserves to be referred to as the Queen of Kamanthipura. If you've watched the recently released film, you might have been impressed by her story. Anyhow, what do you think about her role in society? Do let us know in the comments section. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a video from us.